What brings two entrepreneurs all the way from London to Buffalo? Welcome to Simonelli Chats, where we keep you up to date on the latest news, real estate industry insights, and announcements. I'm your host, Grace Harner. I'm excited that you're here because we're talking about global vision and why Buffalo has next when it comes to startup success. Elle and Al have quite the experience bringing energy and eco-conscious drive to our local business scene with their UK-born startup. Twipes has taken them from dinner with the Prime Minister to winning awards locally. Welcome to Buffalo. We're so glad you're enjoying it, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's really nice. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you so much for having me once again. Absolutely happy to get into it. Twipes are the world's first truly flushable, truly biodegradable wet wipes. We're originally from London, in case our accents weren't a big giveaway. And I'll let Elle, because her background is more the material science. She can explain what the product is, but we're truly grateful to be here. We moved out here with a competition called 43 North, and it was truly a life-changing experience. Elle, why don't you explain what the product is?
Well, I was going to explain his background to you first.
Oh, yes, I'm also going to do that.
Super interesting, and that's what you asked about. So I'm going to let him take over, and then I'll tell you a bit about my background.
You've got a real ASMR voice happening.
Yeah, you do.
Do not edit any of this out, please. Keep all of this in. This is what makes a great, truly Alan L experience. So my background has always been in business and startups. Even prior to being at Twipes, I was a part of a different company called Lululemon, which was a skincare company. They ended up exiting with a giant French conglomerate, L'Oreal. Prior to that, I was doing another startup with a good friend of mine who ended up funding the initial startup of Twipes, actually. So I've always been in startups. I've never had like a corporate career, always been the business side, yeah. So that's kind of my background.
And so with my background, I am a material and chemical scientist. I did my master's in material and chemical. I did my undergrad in biomed. And the thing is, I've always been obsessed with science and the environment. Like for me, I was the kid at 11 years old who was going through my family's like trash and sorting out the recycling and doing all these things. I was planning on being a researcher. I wasn't planning on starting a business. I did always have an entrepreneurial mindset. My mum will tell you, if you ever get a chance to meet her, stories upon stories of her taking me to work and me selling photos. I would draw pictures for people and they go, "Oh, that's so sweet," and I'd be like, "Money, please." So that was me at 9. And so fast forward a few years later, because I'm not going to give away my age on this podcast, but fast forward a few years later and we started this business. So we started in 2015. It was about 5 years for R&D, so a lot of time me spending in the lab by myself, getting on with it, not really talking to anyone. We finally get ready to launch, and then the pandemic happens. So I went from not speaking to anyone and then going into the pandemic and going, oh, I guess I'm just not going to speak to anyone again. But it was a really, really difficult time for us. We had a lot of different pre-orders. We promised things to customers. We had to go in and sort of talk to them a little bit and say to our customers, hey, the pandemic is here. There's nothing we can do. We're sorry we took your money, but we can't do anything about it. And luckily our customers were super responsive. They were super, super kind and understanding. And we were able to sort of, out of the many, many customers we had, we only lost 4 of them, which was really impressive for us. And yeah, it was a great time around. And yeah, as Al mentioned, 43 North has really changed us and changed the perspective. And we are now able to sell in a different market, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
just to
awesome.
give some color to Elle's story, because she says biomedical scientist, award-winning biomedical scientist, Forbes 30 under 30, Mayor of London's Entrepreneur of the Year, Princess Diana Award winner for achievements in science.
Yay.
My job is just professional cheerleader.
Yes.
That's all I do.
Yes. That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah.
Love it. So you started in London, and now you're 2 years into building your presence in the States, right here in Buffalo. How's that going for you, and why did you ultimately choose Western New York?
So I'll get into the why we chose Western New York, kind of talking about 43 North. 43 North's amazing. It's an organization that, for anybody who's listening and doesn't know, is an organization that holds an annual contest with $5 million up for grabs for 5 winning startups. And you basically agree to move your company to Western New York for 1 year. Now, the agreement is only for 1 year, but obviously we're in our third year now, going into our third year, and we're still here. And the reason for that has really been kind of the community in Buffalo welcoming us. We truly feel at home here when it comes to building our company and growing it.
I think the difference between coming from a city like London, where everybody is not necessarily in it for themselves, but there is a rat race. You're constantly on the go. You're constantly moving. You go to networking events, you meet people, and you're constantly doing things. But in Buffalo, people really care. In London, they care to an extent. But in Buffalo, people really care. The community is everything out here. I know you guys say it's the city of good neighbours, but it really is true. The amount of times we've met people just by sitting down somewhere and they're like, oh, I've got someone who can help with your business. Stay there. I will go and get them and bring them to you right now, because anywhere around Buffalo is around 20 minutes. They're like, we'll bring them here.
That makes my heart happy. It's awesome to hear that outside perspective, because for me, I'm just so in it and it's normal for me. It's daily life, but it's nice to step out of that once in a while. You've kept ties, of course, with London. I know you mentioned that you guys kind of go back and forth. How's that kind of shaped Twipes, and how are you keeping that relationship?
Honestly, let's say there's no body cycle clock for me. I'm on so many different time zones. I don't know when I am or where I am. Recently, I was on a university speaking tour. I gave talks at universities in Virginia, in Massachusetts, in Miami. I was at FIU over there, just speaking at universities, inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs. Elle also does some amazing stuff. In the past month, she had dinner at the Prime Minister's house.
Yes, I did. That was an interesting experience. I went to the reception. I didn't go to the dinner. We had a lovely reception outside, which was really nice. It was about sort of bridging the gap between the EU and the UK, and sort of they wanted to feature local businesses and feature businesses that have really made an impact in the UK. And ours was basically around sustainability, and we were able to meet with all the different people, meet the local businesses out there as well, the British businesses that are really making a massive impact in the UK and in the EU too. So that was really interesting. I actually feel like that's a great time to do that. But my favorite thing that I've done this month is actually go back to one of my old schools with my old school teacher and judge their sort of 43 North Shark Tank Dragon's Den kind of competition, which was actually that's the thing I find the most rewarding.
Love that. Yeah. You're really you guys are both advocates for the awareness, and it's not just growing your brand or the business. It's all about sustainability.
And one of the things that I've found, especially going into those communities, is people are really fired up about, like, especially the young kids. They're fired up about what's happening on our planet. They're fired up about what's happening in the world, and they want to make a difference. And a lot of the time, at least when I was younger, I was like, oh, I don't know if my voice will be heard or if there's an opportunity for me to speak or do those things. But these kids are out on the streets. They'll do it. They don't care. They've got a platform, they've got means, they've got ability, and they've got TikTok. With TikTok, it seems like they know what they're doing, and they really do put themselves out there. At least that's what I found when I go and do my talks.
No, for sure. And I think Elle she nailed the point. Sustainability and innovation really are combined at this point, where like every new amazing innovation coming out has a better impact on our planet. Maybe AI put aside.
I was going to say AI.
Maybe put AI aside on that. The interesting anecdote I have on that one is last year I was judging at a high school in Angola, New York.
Oh yeah.
And the awesome thing with that was like I went into it not knowing what the premise is. The 5 student groups pitched their ideas, and like me and 2 other people were judging them. And then at the end, I thought it was a sustainability competition because all of their ideas had a sustainable angle. Turns out, no, it was just a startup pitching competition that just happened to be all the best ideas were sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys have a lovely platform, and the Buffalo startup scene is obviously really evolving, especially around fast-moving consumer goods. We've seen companies on the rise like Top Seeds, Jekka, Nimble Farms, and obviously you guys. What kind of makes Buffalo such a strong ecosystem for these kinds of startups?
I think, unlike tech, and don't get me wrong, there is still also, I want to preface it by saying there's a really strong tech scene in Buffalo too. You have amazing companies like Odoo that decided when they were moving across the Atlantic, they chose Buffalo. But the strongest thing about Buffalo that really lends itself to companies like Top Seeds is that there is so much geographical strategic fit for manufacturing and consumer goods startups. Whether it's the fact that we have loads of available factory buildings that companies can move into that have been set in there from the 80s, or whether it's the fact that there's a state flagship school here. There's we're super close to a major city like Toronto. If you need to hire, more senior talent, no matter what you're trying to do, there's organizations like, for example, in a previous episode, you guys had Greg Pakriki from Be in Buffalo here, and their organization also really helps with attracting talent. So whether it's the talent aspect, the manufacturing aspect, or just the geographical aspect, Buffalo has a lot that lends itself to being able to build really strong companies.
Yeah, and the strong connections. Like I mentioned earlier, like the fact that everybody wants to support you. You've got the backing, they've got the heart. They're the people who are like, oh no, I will help you. Just earlier today, we had a meeting with someone, and she was like, oh, it's all the connections I had. Most of it's pro bono. They just want to help. They want to do what they can to help us. And I think that is something you just don't get from other cities.
That just fired me up.
It's not just the connections, though. It's how close the connections are. Like, I feel like they say people are 6 degrees of separation. Buffalo is really 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Everybody in Buffalo knows somebody else who knows somebody, and like they can get you to the relevant person to help you, which when you're young and you're trying to develop a career, or when you're an early stage company and you're trying to build a brand, that's what you need. You don't want to be lost at sea in New York City or in LA where like you're one of a bajillion and what makes you special? Nothing. Mm-hmm. Whereas like here, what makes you special? The fact that you chose to be here.
Absolutely.
Last year we did some super cool stuff. This year we're doing some even more stuff. So last year, for example, we partnered with the Buffalo Bisons. We were at one of their family days, which is like when they have the Sundays and it's like bring your kids down, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. We've also collaborated with Chef Redbeard, who has a private kitchen in downtown Buffalo. We've partnered with Evolve Fitness, which are a gym in Elmwood. Most recently, we also did an event with a hospital down in Olean, which is, again, like we're talking about connections. It was so out of the blue. We reached out trying to sell to them, and they were like, "Hey, we're doing this event. You guys should totally come down for free and just give do tell people about your products." And we were like, "What? Yeah, okay."
It's that easy, I guess.
Yeah. And like we're kind of using Buffalo as a staging base to really reach the rest of the Northeast. Somebody told me recently that 80% of the North American population is within 500 miles of Buffalo. I don't know if that's true or not. Ask ChatGPT. But I'm going to go ahead and say yes, it is. You heard it here first. And we're really using that to kind of grow out from here as well, to really like put ourselves on the map with Buffalo. So yes, we did the event with Olean, and then now we're doing events in hospitals in the Bronx, down in New York City. We're doing an event in New Jersey. We're doing another event in Cleveland. But like that all began with the first hospital that decided to work with us was in Olean. So like really taking what we learned from Western New York and applying it to really grow out, but still keep our base here.
I love that. You're always going to have a tie to Buffalo, of course. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of a fun little question, but what kind of advice would you give to another international founder, maybe thinking about planting their roots in Buffalo or just in general, wherever it may be in the world?
First of all, do it. Take the plunge, take the leap, jump off the building, do it, because it's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity, and you don't get those opportunities very often. Yep. If you don't take that leap, you could regret it, and also make those connections, speak to the people, join the community, be a part of it. Don't just sort of go, okay, I'm here for a year now, and I know I need to stay here for a year, and the moment it's a year and one day, they're like, all right, I'm gonna go, because the connections you make here are really like connections for life. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say.
That's beautifully said. I love it. I remember, Al, like the first time we met, you mentioned you guys are ambassadors for Buffalo at this point. But truly, I think that you're ambassadors for a lot of other things as well.
We're just trying our best to kind of grow with the city. Like, we're seeing all the amazing stuff that's happening here, and we're growing at such a fast pace. And I feel like it's perfectly timed. Like, city's growing, we're growing. Let's just ride the wave and grow to be a big national brand here.
I will say that the people of Buffalo are everywhere. by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We've been walking in Florida and we've seen people in Bills shirts. I was in Stonehenge last week
It
and
does
there was
feel that way,
there was
doesn't
a
it?
guy wearing a Bills shirt at Stonehenge. I said go Bills. He looked at me like I was crazy, and then I realised he wasn't a Bills fan. He just liked the shirt.
Yeah,
He just liked the
quickly
shirt.
learned.
But it's insane, and you can make the connection so fast because all you do is say go Bills and they're immediately like in.
Yep.
They're immediately like in.
You're gonna have a conversation after that, and then
Exactly.
maybe you have a coffee date set
Exactly.
up. Like,
Exactly.
That's the secret
And
password.
that is out of Buffalo as well,
Yeah.
you know. So it's funny that community, that sense of community, does not leave you when you leave the city. You know.
yeah,
One other thing to just mention about Buffalo, like obviously moving here, we didn't know anyone. So like it was a core team of myself at that time, our head of product, who's now our chief growth officer, Liz and Eleanor. And the three of us moved here from London and we were like, all right, we've got to build a team out here. And one thing we found amazing is just there's so many amazing, talented people from Buffalo. So we've now ended up hiring people that like went to Case Western in Cleveland, went to Boston College in Boston, went to Manhattan College in the Bronx, and now they're all from Buffalo. So they've come back to Buffalo. And we were just basically like, hey, we're going to hire you because you're super cool and talented and you're from here. And we just build in those jobs for them. Key hires is our head of PR and communications, Adam. He's awesome at his job. And the way how we hired him is actually a really funny story. So he was working at a TV station and he interviewed Elle.
Yeah.
And we basically did the interview and we were like, oh, this guy's actually freaking awesome and he's very well connected and he knows the PR landscape. Let's just hire him. So like, it's just stuff like that of like just keeping talent in Buffalo and building talent over here is like so easy to do. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if we were in New York City, we'd be like, where do you even begin with trying to recruit talent like that?
yeah.
It's just, you don't get a sense of who the person is. And I feel like, maybe this is hard to say, but like I feel like in Buffalo, not many people pretend to be, I don't think they can pretend to be something they're not, if that makes sense. You know, it's very, they're very upfront and very like, I like you or I don't like you and I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and I really like that. I think having that sort of mindset of being like, yeah, I like you, I get along with you, you're a cool person, or I don't get along with you and I'm moving on, is so my kind of attitude to things. I think it's very fun. It's quite refreshing to see, because in London, in bigger cities in general, and I find people are very much putting up a front or a barrier because they don't want to be vulnerable or they don't want to show themselves or they don't want to look like an idiot. And it's like none of these things exist. It's all in your head. But with Buffalonians, they're just like, yeah, I don't care. I know I'm not.
You get what you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Like, it's exactly that. And I think it's really refreshing.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like every time I've recorded these podcasts, I always end up talking about networking and getting yourself out there. But truly, that's what it's all about. And it's not like just, sign up for an event and show up. It's meet people.
Yeah.
And the energy in here is amazing. That's why things have been so successful in Buffalo, because everybody cares so much, and it's people like you that I have in the room that are, that are showing that inspiration. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us, Genuine today. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I've really appreciate it. This has been awesome. It's a great way to spend the afternoon.
Go to www.twipes.com/chats for 20% off your order.
Thank you for tuning in. Whether you're launching a product, supporting a local venture, or really just curious about what's next for our city, now's the time to bet on Buffalo. Find more information in the show notes below. Until next month on Seminole Chats.